The Power Factor Show with Rick, Steve, and Caleb. Episode 62, Part 2.
You can find this podcast and others at Gun Rights Radio Network, gunrightsradio.com. Podcasting freedom.
Brought to you by Safariland.
So in terms of, durability, there was one guy that we've been shooting ski with, and he has, I don't know, it's a Remington, which is really made in probably Hungary or whatever.
No, it's not. I think it's Italian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. At any rate, he's had, I don't know how,
I think it's a
how
Remington
new,
SPR.
or STS or something.
Yeah, one of those.
But he's...
SPR, that's the Russian gun.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a Remington SPS, it's
Okay.
Baikal.
Yeah,
company
all right.
that makes it in Russia.
See, what do I know?
Well, apparently they don't make them so well because he's had 3 broken extractors in that thing, and I don't know what period of time, so...
but as he said, he only paid $1,000 for it, and he has shot it a lot.
Has or has not?
Has.
Okay, yeah. Well, hopefully he got his $1,000 worth out of it, but I mean, I think on...
That's what he was saying, So, okay, it's getting fixed now, I've only had that much in it. I've shot it a lot. I could be looking at something else and send it down the road. Right.
I mean, my personal recommendation on shotguns is, I've been told that you can't go wrong with a Browning or Beretta. Beretta's been around since 1526 or whatever, making guns, and Browning's been doing it for a very long time also, and both of them are... if you go to competition, you're going to see Brownings or Berettas, and they're shot.
And you got 2 advantages with those. Number one is that, like Steve said, they've been around for a long time. They're well-known, well-made guns. You can find a lot of them used because they do stand up.
Right.
So you find a lot of them used. A lot of dealers for new ones around too, or for parts and things like that are very easy to find. Some of the other, the Remington, the Baikal, Russian-made ones, some of the Turkish guns and stuff.
Right.
Sorry, that part wasn't in the shipment we got last month. It'll be 3 months.
Yeah.
You never know how long it's going to be to get it fixed. And there's also a ton of people that can work on Browning and Berettas that, outside of the factory authorized reps that will do a very good job because it's basically the same gun for many, many years. So it's very easy to work on with that. But... the difference in shotgun ribs, I pointed to a couple of them with the different rib heights and stuff like that. One of the reasons why there's a separation in a rib on a shotgun is for heat. If you've just got the barrel with the bead on the end of it there and you shoot a lot, that 25 rounds of trap by yourself, shoot it fairly quickly.
It's warm.
You will get warmth and you'll get heat mirage coming off of it and makes the target do funny things out there.
I will say this, Ed, with the weather being really cold outside, it's kind of nice. You just grab your barrel after it's warmed your hands up.
Happiness is a warm gun. So by getting the rib up off the barrel somewhat, that will help alleviate that because it allows cooling air in there. But also the other thing is as John pointed out, it allows you to change the rib plane to change where the point of impact is on there. Some shotguns will have 2 beads. The middle bead is solely to tell you if you've got the gun lined up correctly. If I've got it in the wrong spot, I've got a lot of distance I can see here in the rib between the 2 beads. And that tells me that I'm looking at it this way, but the barrel's going that way. If I kick it up where I make a snowman out of the 2 beads, then I know I'm looking at the rib exactly in the same plane where the gun's going to shoot at.
Snowman, or sometimes called a figure 8 or whatever, stacking the beads is another thing.
Stacking the beads, yeah.
The other thing I was going to say in terms of beads is that you're not supposed to see them when you're shooting at all.
That's just a mounting.
Yeah, so the idea there is that you mount the gun, you verify that you're seeing the bead stack that you should see, that the beads are in line with your eye, and then after that you're looking at the bird from there on out. But when you're shooting, you should not be aware of the front bead or any beads at all. In fact, I've heard some people take the beads off their gun entirely.
Yeah, if you're transitioning
with a guy like that.
Do you? Okay, yeah.
If you're transitioning from handguns or rifles, it's really hard because you cannot look at the front sight of your shotgun.
That's what I'm struggling with right now.
Almost every time. You'll get lucky every so often.
And it's kind of interesting, too, that when you shoot shotgun, that target's not where you thought it was when the shot gets there.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a very brief time, but it is moving all the time.
Right. So that's a big change.
Yeah.
So in terms of beads, this is kind of interesting because for the most part, I'm looking at white beads or a standard, metallic bead or whatever. But there's one in the end there that has a fiber optic bead, which seems somewhat counterproductive in that you're not supposed to see the bead, and yet you're throwing something there at the end of the gun, which is, look at me.
Yeah, that's something that I personally don't like. I mean, on my shotguns here, most of the newer shotguns come with the fiber optic,
right,
and they'll come with the green or red one in there,
right,
but they also give you the plain white one in there. And all of mine have gotten the plain white ones in there for that same reason. I don't want to be standing there looking at something and trying to attract my attention out there, so I tone it down. I'm not exactly sure why they do it on the competition ones. I think it's, people want it.
It
they
looks
think they
really
need it,
good.
And it looks good. In
And
a
the
hunting
pictures
gun,
on the
it's killing your shooting, I can tell you that.
In a hunting gun, I can see it because you're dealing with dim light stuff, so it's kind of harder to see if you've got the gun up where it needs to be if you're shooting just after dawn or just before dark when it's still legal hunting time.
Right,
in the woods and stuff. It definitely has a point there. But on a competition gun, my personal thing is stay away from the fiber optic sights.
Yeah, my recommendation for maybe watching this, if you do have fiber optic in there, is get it off if you can, and go to a traditional bead, because I think you're going to probably be shooting a lot better. I think that the problem with a bright object out there is that no matter what, your eye is going to be drawn to that barrel.
Yep.
Right.
And as soon as your eye comes off the bird and goes onto that barrel, you start effectively measuring the lead, and your hands will slow down because your mind is trying to track one with the other, and it doesn't work. So as an experiment, my recommendation is take that fiber optic off and go back to a traditional gun and try it. So,
yeah, some of the other differences in a field model shotgun, the way the pattern is set up, it will typically do what they call a 50-50 pattern, where about 50% of the pattern is above the barrel, 50% below it. The reason for that is, in a hunting shotgun, they don't know what size critter you're going to go after.
Right, or what distance you're going to be shooting.
Right, or what distance. Could be a little quail, could be a big honking goose. But as long as you get it in the center of that target, whether it's a little quail or the goose, you're going to get a good spread around it there.
Right.
So you effectively have to start covering the target up when you pull the trigger on a field shotgun. A friend of mine's got a great saying he talks about for hunting ducks is, as you're coming across the duck, it's butt, belly,
barrel,
beak,
bang.
bang.
Yeah.
So you're passing all the way
four
through
Bs.
the gun, through the duck to shoot it. On a competition shotgun, the ones that don't have an adjustable rib typically are 60-40 or maybe 65-35 as far as the pattern up with it.
Meaning 60% is above, 40% is below.
Right. Yep.
Right.
The reason for that being is then now you don't necessarily have to start covering the target up.
You're
when you
floating
pull
the bird,
trigger.
so to speak.
Floating the bird. Some trap shotguns, John's old Guarini.
Yeah.
You could adjust it to be
over 100.
Over 100% high.
Yeah.
So you actually have to keep space between the target.
Wow.
When you pull the trigger there, so you never lose sight of the target with that. For trap, that works wonderful. You try to do stuff like that with skeet or some of the other sport and plays games, stuff like that.
Continental.
No.
Yeah.
You want a flat shooting gun at that point. So field guns will work with that. They just have the limitation of the barrel length typically. Field guns will almost always come with 26 or 28-inch barrels and nothing longer than that.
Right.
Competition-based shotguns will typically start at 30 and go to 34.
And there's been a trend recently, actually, of going longer in barrels, and I believe the reasoning behind that is basically just to smooth the swing out.
Well, in the past...
And balance.
That's true. And balance is another thing that we can talk about. It's balance is very important in terms of shotguns.
In the past, 26-inch barrels ruled skeet, just because of the amount of swinging that you had to do.
Right.
The shorter the barrels you have, and the less weight you've got out there, the quicker you can swing it, but the easier it is to stop it. So you can run into problems with that. The longer the barrels, the harder it is to get it moving, but once it does get moving, the momentum helps smooth the swing out.
Right.
In the past, 26-inch ruled skeet. Now you're getting 30-inch barrels that are less weight than a set of 26-inch barrels from the 60s and 70s. So you're getting the benefits of having the longer barrel for the swing, but not having the weight like it would have been back in those days. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing more longer and longer barrel sets.
There's quite a few people shooting 32s at the skeet also.
Yeah.
I had
You being one of them.
Yep, me being one of them. I had a God, how heavy was that? I had a 32-inch Satori XT.
Okay.
That was so front end heavy.
Yeah.
I couldn't,
XT is their trap.
the trap gun. And I could not shoot that gun very well at all, so it had to go down the road. I had a 30-incher that was okay, and my Beretta is a 32-inch gun, and it feels like 30 or something shorter than that just because the barrel weight is so different in the way that the gun balances.
Yeah, that balances really well.
And another thing on barrel lengths, a lot of people think you got to have at least a 30-inch barrel to shoot skeet, or to shoot trap or something like that. And I think the barrel length really has more to do with what the weight is, and as you were saying, how it handles for you. If you've got a 26 or a 28-inch gun and you want to go out and play trap, don't even think for 2 seconds. Just go out and do it. It'll be fine for you. Shot speed, all of that stuff, it's not going to make that big a difference, to be even noticeable.
Not until you get to the upper level, and then it might make a difference. But at the level that we're talking at,
in trap, you've got so little gun movement. Really, I mean, there's very little gun movement in effect to hit the targets the way they're thrown there.
Right.
So it doesn't get as important until you start getting into sporting clays or skeet, where you're really throwing the gun around in different angles and stuff like that. That's where the balance, barrel length, and all those combinations really help determine how the gun's going to work for you and stuff. So, like I said, shooting trap, you can do it with just about anything that goes bang. I even watched a guy get 23 out of 25 with a 1911 and ball ammo one time.
You're kidding.
Single-handedly on a trap field in Montana. So you can shoot it with just about anything and learn to love the game.
Wow. So I notice all your barrels, or at least almost all your barrels, are ported, and porting kind of has, there's the group that love porting, and then there's the other group that hate porting. Usually the ones that hate porting are the ones who are shooting with somebody who is or does have a ported gun. So why don't you go ahead and discuss the aspects of porting and the benefits and the downsides of porting?
Well, as far as downside, I don't know of any. Of course, all
cleaning,
my guns
I've
are
heard
ported.
one thing is a bitch to clean the
Not
ports.
really. I mean,
and benefits?
Yeah, if you let it get built up and stuff, then you're going to get some plastic build up on the inside of the ports that sometimes you got to poke out and stuff.
Right.
But if you clean your gun, every time you've done 100 shots or whatever with that, it's just mostly carbon on the outside that will come out. You can see that on.
I noticed on your Benelli here that you had.
There, so that just wipes off pretty quickly, and they're smooth enough on the inside that, like I said, it really takes a lot before it'll start scraping plastic.
Right.
So really, like you said, the only downside is that it is noisier than an unported gun. Not anywhere near as loud as a muzzle brake on a rifle.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's.
Because you don't have the gas pressure.
Right. Exactly. The benefits of it are dramatic. In my case, I mean, I've had ported and non-ported guns of the same exact gun, and there's definitely a less recoil jump, especially if you're doing a second shot.
If you're a follow-up shot on doubles, right.
Definitely is a benefit for me. A lot of factory guns, over and unders, and even the sporting clays gun will come with porting. You can also have it done. Magnaport has been doing it forever and a day on everything, and they'll do it. There's a couple other companies that can port it as well.
Right. What's porting? Typically like $100, $200, give or take.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I don't have a clue.
Anymore. But yeah, I think it benefits the competition guns, especially if you're doing multiple target environment there, because like I said, the difference in the follow-up of not having, it's like shooting a 45, full house 45 or 22.
Right.
Your eye never leaves the target with the 22, with the 45, you got to get on everything again.
Right. So let's talk costs. Low end to high end. I mean, what you're typically looking at.
Well, as we talked a little bit about before, the second market, I like to call them, over and under.
The pre-owned.
Not the pre-owned. I mean the second market. The
second tier.
Second tier.
Yeah.
The guns coming from Turkey, from Russia. some of the companies that are establishing themselves now with that. The CZ is one that I know quite well just because I happen to have one of their side-by-sides that I use for cowboy shooting. They've got a range of over and unders that are good for trap shooting and clay target games that start now at about $600 or $700 and go up to about $1,000. I think they've got 4 different ones that really the only difference is their metal finish on the outside, engraving, and
wood
stuff
and
like
engraving,
that. They're as good as you're paying for it. They'll do okay, but if you start using them heavily, if you're going to come out 2 or 3 times a week, shoot a case of shells, 250 shells a week through it, you're going to run into some
It's
wear.
gonna add up.
The metal quality isn't quite as good, and then finding parts if you do break something is going to be tough.
Right.
It used to be that the next jump was pretty high. It would jump into 2,000 and on up. But modern manufacturing, John's new Beretta is a perfect example.
Yeah.
You could not have found that at the price he paid for it 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
It just didn't exist.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about your 686?
About this thing?
Yeah.
This thing here? This is what is this? The 4th or 5th over and under I've had in 4 years. And I bought this because I did have a single barrel trap gun, a Caesar Guarini. It's built on an over and under frame, but it was just the bottom barrel and had a rib on it about that tall. So when you mounted the gun, your head was up. You were like this, but it had a high stock too. I could only play one game with that. And I decided, no, I want to play other games with it. I had a Satori XS Special, but it was heavy, and that's right here also. And I wanted to try something else. So one of the guys at the club had a 687 with 32-inch barrels on it, and I shot it, and it's like, that's not 32-inch barrels. It's too light. And I started looking around at different Berettas and decided that I liked the exterior design on the receiver better than some of the other Beretta models. And this was most reasonably priced. Beretta 680X type guns, 686, 687, 682s are all basically the same design as far as the receiver, the lock work. Barrels in the sporting models are pretty much the same.
In fact, the design actually dates back to the 50s, if I remember right.
I don't know, probably.
I thought it was around the 50s when they came out with a 68X or 6 whatever line. So,
and I started looking at the different guns, and I shouldered a lot of different Berettas. Silver Pigeon 5s, those are really pretty.
Yeah.
Some other 687s. I think I did shoulder a 682. The big difference in all of the models gets down to the quality of the wood on them, what it looks like, and the engraving. And some of them come with extended chokes. Some of them have just flush chokes. This gun came with flush chokes, and which helps the cost. It keeps it down. So I had to buy some extended chokes from Jay. But this was reasonably priced. They list for, I think it's $2,050 or $2,095.
Yeah.
I paid $1,950 for it brand new. There's other Beretta models. Steve's looking at a 682.
It's on order. I might have it someday.
That is MSRP on those, I think, is something like 37 something.
No, it's more like 4,800.
Okay.
Hopefully your wife isn't watching this.
I didn't pay $4,800 for it. Yeah.
No.
I bought it. Here's a plug. Joel Etchin Guns, which is where you got yours.
Yes.
But they've got really good prices, but they're also probably one of the biggest Beretta dealers, I think, in the U.S.
Yeah. They
are.
And stand behind your stuff, and they're great to work with. But anyway, so that's where I bought it from.
But this is a sporting gun, and the rib on it is relatively flat. From the back to the front, the distance off the barrel, it's just really flat. It shoots very flat, too, because of that.
Yeah, I'll say.
Which Steve shot a round of, what was it, Continental?
It was Continental and couldn't hit crap until you told me it shoots flat,
okay.
Put the barrels on the bird.
Now touch the target.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is, I don't want to say the entry level. I think an SP1, Silver Pigeon 1, is a little bit less expensive than that. They're real
less,
close.
That's a field gun, though.
No,
they make a
Silver
sporting
Pigeon
gun, too.
sporting now.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Sporting gun? Okay.
Yeah, but
So,
I mean that's a heck of a good deal in terms of a. I mean, your Beretta name company, great. I mean, good resale if you ever decide to sell it. It's name recognition.
well,
but
after having the Greenie, which was really expensive, I brand new that was like $49.95. I bought it used for I think it was $3,300, and I sold it for within $100 of that. But it, the fit, finish, the engraving on it, the quality of the wood, the finish on the wood, it's all just really nice, beautiful stuff. And I'm talking to myself and saying, well, do you really need a beautiful $5,000 gun to go play breaking the targets? And that's why I came back to this. And I wanted, like I say, an over and under that was a sporting gun. And sporting guns, I think you can pretty much play any game you want with it and do reasonably well.
Yeah.
And
the other thing that's really impressed by this is just the way it balances. I mean, the weight is really nicely distributed between the hands, and this is a 32-inch barrel.
Yes.
When I was looking at shotguns, I always looked at the Greenie, and it felt good, but it also was very nose heavy, and that's one of the reasons why I dismissed it. Difference
in Browning versus Beretta. Beretta has always been known for very svelte receivers and fore-end work. Kind of more European style thing, where Browning is a little bit more beefier, both the fore-end wood and the receiver itself. It's a little bit wider, a little bit taller,
That's okay.
and then you got the beefier fore-end. Neither one is better than the other in the sense, but again, balance and fit, you're going to get a lighter weight, slightly lighter weight gun out of the Beretta than you would an equivalent Browning in the older, the 680X Browning series, or 620 Browning
the 625
series.
or 525 or 425 or 325 or 725.
The outcast child, redheaded stepchild of Browning,
the wannabe,
is their Browning Synergy, which one of the reasons why I got it, there's two, is I happen to know the chief engineer who designed the gun that works for Browning, and it's almost exactly the same size, if not slightly smaller in one dimension than the Beretta receiver. So it's very svelte,
it's very
and lightweight. So it was just less stuff for me to have to hold in my hands. But it was also completely different design internally. Almost every shotgun out here, as far as the break-open type, still is working the same way it has for hundreds of years.
Right.
Whereas when you tip open the barrels, it's kicking back a pair of hammers. When you pull the trigger, those hammers actually go through and fly. This is like a Glock. It's striker fired.
Striker fired. Okay.
So you've got a lot less weight. So it's got a much faster lock time. Much less stuff to put in there and work with. So you can make it smaller and lighter weight and a little bit easier to work with. So that's one of the reasons why I like it. One of the things that Browning did was when they introduced this, it was a radical design.
Yes.
They went with a radical stock, the shape of the adjustable comb and the V, which is crazy different, the shape of the recoil pad, which is very effective. But every single one of the people that had been shooting trap from the 60s and 70s, it's like, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
It looks different.
And so...
But they are available with a traditional looking stock on it.
They are now with that.
Right.
But they're still not real big sellers, which is too bad because it is a very, very nice gun. But you're talking basically as we go through here. I don't remember that's mid-twos, isn't it?
Well, shotgun prices are interesting. This thing catalogs in Browning's catalog on their website for I think it's $32.95.
Right. Okay.
Nobody pays $32.95 for one of those.
Right.
And I think you can buy them new 25, 26, 27.
Yeah, I was going to say that's when I was initially looking at possibly going that route.
Yeah, mid-twos. So you got just under two for street price. Mid-twos for the Browning XS Special or XS Skeet version, the same thing.
That's the special.
The field gun, the Satori Lightning would run
probably around
1,700.
Oh, it could be less than that.
1,500 now.
Yeah.
With that, you get into this particular, not necessarily because it's a Synergy, but something with the upgraded wood on it that it's got, the adjustable comb, and all that kind of stuff. You're looking. This is up to an MSRP of 38 something now. I paid $24 for it, but I got it 8-9 years ago when it was first introduced. So there's a very wide range in there.
What about your 4 or so anyway? your Beretta, your side by
Beretta
side.
side by side.
Yeah.
That I think is right around over $4,000 list right now for that, and this is their lowest model of the side by side.
Okay.
But that's a fun gun. I don't really shoot competitively with that.
Yeah.
But within that, when you start getting into the $2,000, roughly this, to the $4,000 range, the differences that you're going to get are very, very slim.
Yeah, it's typically cosmetic. I mean, is what you're looking at.
Might be the adjustable comb and things like that. Maybe an adjustable rib in some of the new greenies and Zoli Sporting Clays guns that are out there.
Everything adjustable on them.
You might get a removable trigger assembly, which helps in cleaning and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's not as much as you would hope with that.
And it really doesn't make you shoot that much better.
Yeah, it doesn't make you shoot that much better.
No, it doesn't.
When you start getting up into $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 range, which is very easy to do, you start getting into the realm where, well, if you come to us, like the Perazzi USA in California, we'll fit the stock to you.
Right.
You're paying for that as well as paying for a plane ticket down there. But you can say, oh, it only costs this much, and I got all of that.
Yeah.
Supremely elegant wood, a lot more engraving and things like that. What you're getting, but the basic gun is the same.
Yeah.
Every single Browning.
A Satori action is a Satori
action. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. It just has different stuff on
Which has been around since the 20s.
For the
I think
most
the
part,
original
the
Super
Berettas
Pros
are
is what
exactly
they...
the same. You get a little bit difference in the more expensive guns, the DTs, stuff like that, because of the replaceable parts.
Right.
The hinges and the wear parts.
And the DT is a different lockup.
Right, and that's, the DT is a different lockup. But even in the 680 series, you'll get the replaceable hinges, the shoulders that are replaceable by the consumer versus having to take it to a service center.
The adjustable trigger, and then you've got ventilated barrels, between the top and the bottom barrel where this gun doesn't.
Right. So, it's shop your budget.
Yeah.
Really, but.
And don't forget the used gun market, because, we were saying, a Beretta or a Browning can easily go 100,000 rounds before you're going to see anywhere at all in the gun. And 100,000 rounds is a lot of shooting, honestly.
Where I spent $19.50 for this in August of last year, I picked up another one in December that had maybe 300 rounds through it. It looked brand new.
It does.
For $14.50. Yeah. So if you look around, they're out there.
Yeah.
And don't jump on the first thing you find.
Yeah. Shotguns typically, the initial depreciation is a lot higher than a pistol.
Right.
If you buy a 1911, in a year or two, even with 500 rounds to it, as long as you take care of it, you can get probably 90% of what you sold it for pretty easily. Maybe even get what you sold it for if you find the right person.
Right. Right.
Shotguns, though, for some reason, they take a big hit, and then stabilize for quite a long time with that stuff.
Right.
So the used market is a great place to find a starter gun, or if you're looking for something special, instead of having to go pay for something with a left-handed stock.
Right.
With that, search the used stuff, because some guy out there wants to sell his left-handed one and nobody around him wants to buy it.
Yeah.
So he's going to put it on the national market.
And if you have a chance that you can go out at your club and shoot one of these guns before you decide to buy it, I would highly recommend it, because the thing with a rifle or a pistol or whatever is that you can kind of adapt to the gun, but with shotguns it's a lot more personal, and that the way it feels between the hands, the way it fits you, everything, it's a little more important that the gun does fit.
And I know at Renton Fishing Game Club, I can't think of more than one or two members of the club that wouldn't let you shoot their shotgun. There's a couple of guys that have very, very, $20,000, $30,000 Perazzis and special trap guns that wouldn't fit you anyway.
Does one of those guys drive a Bentley? Because I saw a Bentley in the parking lot down there.
Anything's
but
possible.
anyway, they're more than happy to let you shoot a few rounds through it, a few shots through it, maybe even a full round of trap if you just ask for interest and stuff. Just like every shooting sport, every shooter is friendly, for the most part, and they're happy to share why they like the stuff and
why they bought it and why it's better than anything else out there.
Why I sold the other 5 and got this one. Yeah, we don't buy guns, we just rent them.
That's right. Oh, you learned that.
Okay, so I think that about wraps it up for this episode. So in terms of what we're going to be having here coming along, we're going to have an episode on the different shotgun games, trap, skeet, sporting clays, five stand, kind of like a high-level view of all of these. As the season progresses, meaning when it gets light out and warmer out, we're actually going to have
shooting. We're going to go shooting.
Yes,
Yeah.
We're going to have dedicated episodes specifically aimed at each game. So there will be a episode on skeet shooting, an episode on trap shooting, possibly an episode on continental trap, which is a little bit different than normal 16-yard trap.
Same as wobble trap. In many
Right,
places.
right. An episode on five stand, an episode on sporting clays. I think Reloading will be another episode also. May actually, depending on how things go, get some coverage of the U.S. Western Open, which is held up at Top Gun up north at Mount Vernon, which has basically been referred to us, from what I've heard, as Disneyland for shotguns.
Oh man, it is incredible.
I went up there last year, and it's just like, you got to be kidding. I mean, I just could not believe what I was seeing up there. So, in fact, I know one of the shooters from pistol shooting who is very avid into shotguns, who you're going to see here on the program in the future, Will Medlicott, who's a master class or master ranked shooter. And in terms of those of you who understand the pistol side of things, Grandmaster is the highest you can go in IPSC, Master is the highest you can go in IDPA, Master is the highest you can go in the shotgun sports.
And one of the things unique about that is Will has told me you have to earn it every year.
Yeah,
it's
do.
not like in USPSA where you become a grandmaster, you're a grandmaster for life.
Right.
So I kind of like that.
Yeah, and I like the way they actually go about doing their ranking better than because it's based on basically match performance.
Yes.
I mean, it's as you shoot,
Yep.
you get so many punches or whatever, and Will can explain all this stuff. But it's not like USPSA where you can go out and shoot the classifier a bunch of times and game it and do it really quick, and then you suck at shooting matches. In the shotgun sports, you need to be good at shooting matches, which is really where it counts. So at any rate, so that's the plan for the future, where we're going. If you have any questions or comments, you can hit us at the website at powerfactorshow.com. You can send us email at powerfactorshow@gmail.com. You can hit our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/powerfactorshow. I think I've hit all that stuff. You can send email. You can write a letter and send that to us if you can figure out the address.
Send it on the back of a $20 bill.
Yeah, you can get a clay pigeon or a pigeon and attach it to it and send it on its way. So at any rate, hope you enjoyed the program. There's more coming, so thanks for tuning in. And thanks to John and Jay for coming out and joining me on this one.